You need to stop, look, and listen today and take inventory on your life and find out where the problem is in your life.
Listen up or run for cover. Dropping knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. The real Brad Lee is dropping
What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, I'm extra excited because I've got a real treat this time. If you guys don't know who this guy is, you will, and I bet you half of you already do. Tim Storey, welcome to the show.
And Brad, we are real friends, man, real friends.
Well, dude, I'll tell you, you're a guy that I watch and follow because, man, when I saw you speak at 10X, I'm like, dude, that's my favorite speaker out of everybody that was there. You rock that stuff.
No, thank you for that. And you know, with you, when we first started to connect and just dialogue about life, a lot of similarities about the way we see things. So I'm looking forward to this interview. I think we're gonna really drop some bombs on some folks.
Well, that's 100%. Folks, he is a basically acclaimed author, friends with all the celebrities. He's coached a lot of the celebrities, speaker, life coach, and all-around good dude. He's got great, stories. And if you ever get a chance to see him go speak live, please do that. If you're not following him already, go to @TimStorey. That's STOREY official on Instagram. Or just go to timstorey.com. Check him out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. And again, the book coming up, The Miracle Mentality. I definitely want to talk about that. What was your last book?
My last book did really well. It's called Come Back and Beyond, and how to turn your setbacks to comebacks. And it was one of those things that the book did well. And then someone gave it to Oprah and she put me on, and all of a sudden the book did better.
And now you're buddies with Oprah still?
Oh man, super close. She's my girl.
Yeah, best friends.
And
with
Oprah
you're
close to her when she lets you do her staff meetings. So she'll bring me in and I speak to her staff and do the Oprah cruises and get to write for the magazine. But she's an authentic lady, and you would get along with her.
Well, Tim, let me ask you. So, how did you grow up? Like, how did you become wise?
I feel that I was in a situation where there wasn't a lot of wisdom. So there was like a vacancy of wisdom. Lower income family that my father was hustling overtime to try to raise 5 kids. My mother was working at Winchell's Donut Shop. And Brad, I can't remember a time of my dad ever sitting me down and saying, son, these are the 3 things that you need to remember to make it in life. Nor have I ever had a conversation like that with my mother. So I think there was such a vacancy of wisdom. And for me, because not everybody's like that, I longed for wisdom. So I was fortunate enough to have a 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Cook, my 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Sullivan, 5th grade teacher, Mr. Probert, and then Mr. Probert was my 5th grade and then 6th grade teacher. Man, those guys were amazing with me because I know not everybody gets along with their teachers at that age, but I really paid attention to them, and I realized that I had a real hunger for wisdom.
And that was 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade?
Truly. Yeah, because I could feel like it was void, because if anybody talked about something, I had no idea what they were talking about. So I was born in 1960. So people talked about, like things that were going on in the government or who the president was. I really didn't know what was up, because on our little TV that had a antenna that was a hanger, we were watching the Brady Bunch, the Partridge Family, and Dennis the Menace. We weren't really watching like the evening news. So I was oblivious to what was going on.
Well, that's 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, but you had to develop somewhere along the way because, you've got celebrity friends, celebrity clients that had, ultimately big time challenges, and they're looking at you to bring them through it. So why you? How did you get the reputation of life coach? When did you start literally showing people smarter ways to go?
So I think that the early years of elementary school gave me the hunger then to learn. And then I began to see people in high school that were reading books that were not books they had to read. So I saw this one guy who was reading Kurt Vonnegut. It's like, who's Kurt Vonnegut? And then I would then read Kurt Vonnegut. Then I saw a lady reading a book about Mother Teresa, and I asked her if I could read that book. And so I started to expand my mind. And then, interesting story that I've never told you. I was thinking about going to USC, and I had the grades, and I wanted to be a communications major, but I decided that I also love people, so I was going to go to seminary to become a humanitarian, and that's the way I went. And again, because of my love of knowledge and learning, I just really applied myself in school, and I feel like the education, and also the fact that I'm very empathetic and compassionate, is the thing that begin to draw troubled people. But Brad, as you know, I started with the older guys: Walter Matthau, Jack Lemmon, Charlton Heston. I was like rolling with the old guys when I was super young.
And but how did they find you? Like by referral? Were you down there? Were you at their church? Like, I know you're big into church. Are you a pastor, like, technically?
Yeah. So my background is I started going to church because my parents took me at age 4. And then I remember when I was like 15, I'm like, at 18, I'm bailing, I'm not going to go anymore. But I kind of like had this connection with God at 17 very strongly. But I never saw myself wanting to be like a preacher. Because when I thought of preachers, I thought a guy that's way up on a stage and talking down. So I think that my style is more of a communicator. So technically, I'm still a pastor. I have a doctorate in world religion, and I have a church in Southern California called the Congregation. That's a really cool church. We have about several thousand people that call themselves part of the congregation. A lot of it is online nowadays, but I never wanted to be a mega preacher, a mega pastor. I'm still into that humanitarian side.
Can anybody log into your Sunday service?
Yes. So it's Congregation.family, Congregation.family. And it's what I think is cool is probably about 70% of my followers are non-Christian people, because I find myself to be very inclusive. I respect all faiths, all points of view. And, I like to teach a lot about the Gospels and about what I call the Jesus style. And again, going back into the celebrity thing and like how I got to know these people, it came by referral. I remember helping like one big celebrity's child. And I must have done a good job because then he started telling his buddies. And then there's a famous actress named Diane Cannon who is married to Cary Grant. You know Cary Grant, right?
Sure.
And she asked me, can you do this like a Bible study at my house? And she's got a Jewish background. And I did it. And Brad, it blew me away. Out of the 13 people there, 9 of them, I was like, man, I've seen you all my life. It was big celebrities. And that's where it took off.
And they just kept giving you referral after referral after referral.
Yeah, I feel like it was a bit of a Forrest Gump moment that I wasn't trying to do that. I was not trying to be the life coach to the stars. I was just like a humanitarian, still helping inner city kids, going to third world nations, teaching kids about dreams. And then you'd go from there and next thing you're 24 eating at Spargos. So but I was cool eating at Spargo's, but I was also cool like being in Johannesburg, South Africa, in the tough areas.
So why, out of all the things you've learned and all the people you've learned them from and witnessed transformations and failures, I'm sure, what are the main things that keep average people average?
I think that number one is that they don't think that they can do it. So there's some kind of blinder on them that maybe their brother can do it. He's like a high school star, or maybe Jay-Z can do it, or, somebody they look up to. But I think number one that I see time and time again is people have a blinder. And I like to dialogue with you about this because I think you would agree. A lot of times it's shame. It's shame, it's guilt. And they feel like maybe they don't deserve it because they've done a lot of bad crap in their lives. So I think the blinder is one. And the second, and that's one reason I love your show, is they lack tutoring and mentoring from someone who's going to tell them the damn truth. Because a lot of times people are sugarcoating things and not saying to them, like, really, that's not a great idea. And, that title of that book pretty much sucks. And that's one thing I've always enjoyed about you is your authenticity on how you bring the truth. So the blinders is one, a lack of tutoring would be another one.
Yeah. It's funny because I agree 1,000%. Limited belief to me, I think deep down subconsciously what they've learned or heard or decided to believe for whatever reason their entire life has culminated into these limiting beliefs, and they are not aware of them because they're subconscious sometimes, right? And we protect that with an ego, but they're subconscious, and ultimately they never achieve success because deep down they don't think they deserve to.
Exactly right. And it's proven by a lot of guys that I life coach who, once they start to do well, they sabotage it. So I recently met with a guy that's very well known. I'll tell you later who it is. But the reason is people brought me into him. This was just a few months ago. He said, how come I got this in me where I'm doing so well, but I want to just blow this damn thing up? Because he did not feel worthy. He felt that shame. He felt that guilt. But let's talk about where that comes from. I think a lot of shame and guilt comes from religion. And that's why I consider myself like a follower of Christ, but I'm not a religious person. But I also think it comes from people that you were raised around with limited thinking. And limited means to be confined, to be constrained, and also to be quarantined. So, we have quarantined our capabilities through many times the limited teaching that we heard.
By the way, I keep forgetting to drop bombs. You've been carpet bombing this place. I just remembered, so I'm going to drop a bomb every time you say something people need to pay attention to. which we won't even be able to talk because pretty much everything you're talking about is I believe one of the biggest reasons why people are running around, can't get out of their own way. They're frustrated. What about the people that go to these success events, but they don't do anything?
Yeah, but that's one reason I'm excited to talk to you about this. And I really think a lot of people are going to watch this because, Brad, somehow, we've talked about your acting career and a lot of things you've done in the past. And, we learn along the way. Okay. But something happened to you where you became very okay with being Bradley. And it's usually a revelation. And that revelation leads to conviction. And conviction leads to action. I think most people have been blocked from the revelation of who the hell they are. And so, like, maybe a kid gets an idea and they tell their parents, I think I'm going to be Pharrell Williams. And the parents are like, no, you're going to be a pharmacist like your dad. And so we have so many people that had great ideas, unlimited ideas, that they had family members, tutors, coaches, pastors, priests, other people trying to limit them. And me and you just decided that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, at some point, I think maybe it's, thanks to my upbringing, my dad was like, didn't ever say he loved me, but, I knew he did. But he left me to my own devices, meaning not, haphazardly where I got in trouble or killed, but he really, I don't know if he did it intentionally. I'd like to believe he did, but I don't think he did. But it worked either way. He kind of let me figure out shit for myself.
Yeah, I like that. So I think that number one, you have the promise of something, but you then have to teach your kids principles like you do with your children. I've been around your kids, the great kids. So you teach the promise, like, life could be great and life is great, but then we have to have the principles. But then you have to trust that your kids have taken in those principles and that they can learn to make mature decisions. Like, I'll give you a quick example. One reason that Phil Jackson was such a great basketball coach is that his strength was in the practice. He did not let them practice half-ass. He made them practice like it was a game. And Michael Jordan said that what Phil Jackson did is that while you were playing, even if you were messing up, you knew there was not going to be a hot-headed coach on the sideline saying, timeout, timeout, timeout. Because Phil Jackson thought, I taught him in practice, let him figure it out. And so they figured it out on the court, and that's brilliant. And I think sometimes we get so flustered when our kids don't figure it out real quick, and we start calling timeout, timeout, timeout. But really, give them time to figure it out. So I like your dad's approach.
I think that's what made me resourceful. And I think deep down, people always say, maybe I'm a little bit of a contrarian. It's because I had to figure it out for myself. So I'm just naturally questioning things. Just because somebody says this is the way you do it, I don't necessarily automatically think that's the way it is just because someone told me.
And I think that that's out of the space of all the guys we run with. So, okay, let's say if there's a NBA All-Star team, I would say that obviously me and you are on it, just so you know. But I think one of the things you bring that's different than the other guys is you bring what you just said. You're willing to bring the unpopular opinion and not just go with something because it's working. And I love that. And I think it's out of that type of truth that is really setting people free. Now, for a while, it's not going to look like it's going to work. Whenever somebody's a revolutionary person, there's a period of time it looks like folks aren't paying attention. But I've watched with you over the last many years as your following just keeps building and building and building and building. I think it's because people that are younger than you, same age and older, have such a hunger for somebody just shoot straight with me. If my life's gonna suck for like 2 months, thank you for telling me the truth. If I'm gonna have to wear this doggone mask for another year, just shoot straight with me. And that's one thing that you're bringing to the All-Star team.
Well, I would consider that authenticity. That's what I call it.
Yes.
And here's why,
yeah.
Tim. Most people ask me, where do you get your confidence? And I'm like, well, man, I've got insecurities just like everybody else, but here's where I get my confidence. God made me.
Yeah.
He don't make mistakes.
Powerful.
Does he?
No. And the other thing is, and you're not afraid to realize he made you in his image and likeness. And God is a creative, but he's also a person that is willing to challenge systems. And so I think that one of the things that you have done that I'm loving, and even by dropping bombs, is that you are dropping some really good bombs on a lot of areas that people saw as just being sacred. Like, let's say even social media, the way people just like fabricate some kind of following or who they really think they are. I've watched you drop bombs on that. Even about certain people that others follow. You didn't even have to say their names, but you just challenged some of the thought process. And to me, it works. And so I think it's not your fault. You can't help yourself, because once you get an illumination of something, it's really hard to stay quiet. You just got to like tell the doggone truth.
Regardless of popular opinion.
Yes. And where's that going to get you? I'll tell you what, it's going to get you in a good place in history, because I find that people that were willing to go against the grain, let's even, because we both love music, even with what the Beatles did, they went against the grain. Let's take a whole different type of person, a Jimi Hendrix. I mean, the way he played guitar and he could play with his teeth. He went against the grain. The Rolling Stones, they went against the grain. Prince went against the grain. I mean, come on, man. Somebody from Clubhouse have the guts to rise up and go against the grain. I don't want to just chat with a bunch of Stepford wives.
Dude, it's funny that you say that too, because the other day there was a guy on there named Jesse Itzler. You know Jesse?
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
He went against the grain. It was freaking beautiful. It was unbelievable. I love people like that. Well, and I don't know why I'm drawn towards people like that, but listen, I mean, the popular and everybody, you know, I call them nut riders. You know, every time I talk to you, I try to clean up my language, but I don't know how else to say that one. Why? Anyway, it's ultimately, most people are so worried about what other people think that they forget about, you know, delivering what they think. So like, I'd rather just keep my mouth shut because I don't want to disagree with this person, or I don't want to, you know, disagree with that person and look stupid, which tells me that most people that are like that, I think, lack their own self-value. And I don't. I think that's the problem, or it's not a problem for me, but I mean, I think that's the secret, if there is one, and why I'll do it. I'll walk into a party. I don't care if they're all celebrities, all top athletes. I'll walk in, introduce myself. I'm not shy. I don't really care. Why? Because I'm not in awe of them, only because they're just people, right? That are extremely talented. And in my mind, it may be wrong, but so am I. Like, in other words, I appreciate people's talent, but I also appreciate my own. And that's what makes me not seem nervous, not seem, you know, like, ooh, I better not say anything.
So let me add a statement to that. God's opinion of you makes man's opinion irrelevant. So somehow, drop that bomb.
Sure.
You somehow, I don't know where, bought into who Brad Lee is. I don't know how it happened. I don't know if it was after a bad relationship. I don't know if it was after 2 jobs didn't work. I don't know where it happened. But somehow you bought into who Brad Lee is. And we're all a work in progress. But then you really realize that, you know what? I don't need to try to please everybody. That God's opinion of me makes man's opinion of me irrelevant. And once you get that in your system, I'm just going to tell you something. You're pretty much damn unstoppable. You really are. And I think that's what happened to like a Michael Jordan. Like Jordan, like really believed, put 1 defender on me, 2 or 3, and I'm still going to get around you. LeBron's got the same thing. So even when the game starts and LeBron throws up the chalk, he knows it's going to work. And you've seen me do that in my speaking. I could be in the back of the stage before I'm going to speak, and the guy that's having us to speak, because we do a lot of conferences together, may say, like, Tim, are you ready? He's all hyped up. Right? Are you ready? I may be playing with somebody's kids and joking, but man, when my feet hit that stage, it's over with. It's like Jay-Z getting a mic. because I've worked so hard to be a good speaker. And I'll tell you a secret. I put 15 hours into just a 30-minute speech. And so that's why it feels like it's coming out of my soul and out of my pores, because it is.
Well, I need to hire you to coach me on that. When I walk out on a stage and I start talking, I don't feel like I have a speech. I'm more telling a story and or sharing what I believe. Problem with it, in my mind, the problem with it is it's not as structured and or tangible, meaning I need some framework. I need bang, bang, bang. So when people walk out, because when people walk out hearing me speak, a lot of times, most of them are like, that was authentic and that was, refreshing. But when someone says, what'd you hear? I think he just basically said to brush your teeth. And I'm like, well, no, it was way more than that. So I need to structure it better. How do you prepare for a speech to where there's structure?
Okay, because we're so close, I am going to go in on you a little bit. So let's pretend that we're on the Bulls, okay? So for the sake of it, I'll make you Michael Jordan and I'm Scottie Pippen. I agree with you. I think that you are one of the best communicators out of all of us. Part of it is just your gifting, your presence, but also you have an acting side of you that you don't overact, but you have done enough acting that you know how to handle a stage of any type. I've seen you on all types of stages, okay? But I've watched you speak before and I thought, man, damn, that was a good point, Brad. Dig that sucker out. Dig that thing out. Work it, cultivate it. Because like you have a bomb that you just dropped and then you just moved on. And so I'm thinking like, go back to the bomb and you moved on. So I think in the development is that I do think that you do need to develop some of your main points and those become your hit songs. Okay. Like just for fun. Cause I know you like country music. You like everything else. What was a good concert you went to, let's say in the last 3 or 4 years that you enjoyed, either the band or the person?
Florida Georgia Line.
Okay. So if you go see them, they better play their hit songs. And I think that you have probably about 20 hit songs that I keep hearing through your speeches or through watching you on your show, that as a coach of a speaker, I would say we got to insert a couple of those hits every time you speak. Make sense? Like for instance, Tim Storey. When you have a setback, don't take a step back. Get ready for the comeback. Don't sit in your setback. Don't settle in your setback. Don't cement yourself in a setback. All of a sudden, boom, that's like I just sang Purple Rain right there.
That's right. That's what I mean by structure. It's almost codified. It's almost like you literally, worked on it to where you tweaked it. I've never put the work in. I just go out there and talk. And I think what you mean is I'll say something that could be like really freaking good, but I didn't realize it because I didn't put the effort in. I want to start putting the effort in. I want to start.
But in fairness to you, if you don't mind me saying this.
No, please. I
love
this.
You put the effort in your relationship to your wife.
Yeah.
I see you guys have these dates. You put the relationship in with all your kids. I love that side of you. You put your relationship in your staff. I've been to your offices many times. You got one of the best establishments I've seen as far as it's clean, it's sharp, makes you feel good. Makes you feel good when you go. And your staff is always super respectful. So what you've done in those areas, I need you to do that in your speaking. Because Brad Lee, you could say one word to somebody that could alter their life forever. So we learn primarily 3 ways. Here we go. Education, conversation, in observation. Education and what's happening right now, we're educating people even through this podcast. Second is conversation, and that's what you do on stage. You are having a conversation. Don't rush through the conversation. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to name drop. So Robert Downey Jr., we were having this talk one time, and I said, I gave him this really good idea, and he goes, Tim, slow it down, man. You got the dice in your hands. He said, roll them slowly on the table. He goes, because that was some brilliant stuff, but roll them slowly on the table. His idea was, Tim, you probably have thought that and maybe said that a few times, but what you just said to me could be life altering. So education, conversation, in your speaking, one word you say, whoo, man, it could transform someone forever. And the observation is watching you on stage, you command the stage. A lot of these guys, they try to command the stage, they do not. You command it because you have a gift and you have a confidence about you that it makes a person want to go like this. Watch. They want to lean in. Like, what's this guy about? Yeah. Well,
I can tell you, and this isn't me, trying to sound humble. Like, buddy, if I had your stage presence, dude, I'd probably be freaking Tony Robbins Jr.
Well, here's what we're gonna do though. We're going to learn off each other. And we've been talking about doing things together for a while, and we will. But I can help you in this area because the reason that you're not doing it is you're so busy running other things that are working.
Yeah.
But I do believe at times you're missing the opportunity to really work some of your hits.
100%.
Like for instance, this is a powerful story. You'll love this. At Motown, if you go to Motown, they still have the Motown Museum. And outside it says Hitsville, USA. Now, where did that come from? Because Barry Gordy told Smokey Robinson, we're not trying to put out B-side records here. We're trying to put out hits. So they proclaimed that on the outside of the building, Hitsville, USA. So if Marvin Gaye was in the studio and he'd say, like, is Smokey around? Then Smokey would come and Marvin would play him his song and Smokey would say, it's good, but it needs to be tweaked. It's not a hit. That's powerful. In other words, we're not releasing something from Hitsville, USA, unless it's a hit.
So ultimately, there was that voice, though. What if someone doesn't have anybody to bounce it off of? What if someone can't afford a coach like you? What if you're all by yourself and you're trying to make it Hitsville? What do you think the secret there is?
The secret there is you throw things out and see what's working. Like, as you know, because you love entertainment like I do. So Kevin Hart talks about this. He says, people don't realize how many times I practice my material before I'll do like a Netflix special. I'll go to like these hole in the walls and just see if crap works. And if it just keeps falling flat, you realize that's not it. So if you don't have a Tim Storey or a Brad Lee to talk to us personally, number one, you can watch us and learn a lot and get tutored and mentored, but also try your stuff out on people. If you think you can sing, sing, put some out on YouTube, even if 3 people see it. If you think you could write, writers write. Write a chapter and give it to 15 friends. So I think you just got to go out there and work on the material, just like Kevin Hart does in his comedy.
Folks, and translate for all you laymen, that means work. Put in the work. Everything you're saying in my head is just like, dude, I got to put in the work. And you're 1,000% right. When I go out on a conference stage, I'm thinking in my head, I don't want to come across rehearsed. I don't want to come across dry. So I say to myself, just go out there and talk. When in reality, I think that's an excuse so I don't have to put in the work, because it might take a little work.
Yes.
I've said,
go ahead.
Well, I've said some things where I see the audience and they're like, yeah, and I know what you're talking about, where I thought to myself, but you're right. I just continue on or throw in a stupid word, which ruined the whole thing. I don't know if, again, is that self-sabotaging? Is that, hey, Brad, you can't be too cool. What's going on here is maybe there's some limiting belief still left in there.
I think that's just barely part of it, Brad. I think it's the fact that you have so much going on. Again, you're very close to your wife. That says a lot to me as a single guy, been married before a long time ago, but that says a lot to me. It does. To see your kids working around you, to see you at hockey games and, see you out there doing what you're doing with other people, to see you at people's conferences that may not even have a big name, but they look up to Brad Lee and Brad Lee shows up, says a lot. So I think that you just got so much going on, and that what you have to do is once again realize that just one of your hits can turn somebody's life around. So I get this all the time. I mean, I'll be driving down the street and a guy will be like, roll your window down. Brad, this happens a lot. And a guy will scream out his damn window and go, Tim Storey, you don't even know. Your words changed my life. But like really radical. Happens all the time in airports. And many times when they talk to me about it, they remember my hook. They remember the hook or the message. It's not the shotgun approach. They remember the hook and the message. So the way I would do it with you is that I would get a bunch of researchers. I'd get probably about, I'd say 3 to 5 researchers. And whatever you're going to talk on at a conference, you would send out information to people who love you and people who are smart. And you say, okay, I'm teaching on the subject of identity. And then they just start sending you all kinds of information on identity. And then you study that information on identity. And then you write down your points and see what you're going to do. And then you have your assistant send them to me. And I'll say, would you consider doing it from this angle? I need a personal story of identity. I need somebody who lost their identity and how they found it, or someone who lost it and never got it back. Doing it that way, you will not be beat.
You're like a storyteller.
Yes.
You're a picture painter.
I'm a picture painter, but my picture painting is damn working. Like, so that's the thing. Like, I remember being at this place and it was a larger conference. And I remember the guy in the front row was with this real pretty girl. So she must have made him come because the first 5-10 minutes of me, he was like this, like, dude, I'm not feeling this crap. But about 12 minutes in, as I started painting the picture through stories, literally, Brad, I saw his arms go like this. I saw him go like this. And then I saw him wait in this long line as I was signing my books. And here's what he said. I don't even want your damn signature. I just want to tell you, thank you for helping to change my life. Man, that means a lot.
Well, you obviously get a lot of practice doing the sermons every Sunday. Do you think that is part of the reason you're so smooth, or is it literally you prepare 15 hours for every 30-minute talk?
No, in fairness to everybody else, I got a lot of practice. So I've been doing this a long time. I started speaking sermons at age 20. And so now I'm 60 years of age. So from 20 to 40, I've been teaching different sermons every week of my life. And when you're dealing with the Bible, you just can't start making crap up. So I got to study the text, the Hebrew, the Greek, what other ministers say about a certain subject. I do that a lot just to get inside. But for me on the messages, another thing that I think would be smart for you as well, I'll help you with this. I need like 5 good hits for 2021, and those are your 5 messages that you're going to speak on. So wherever you get invited, whether it's a big virtual conference or all these other big conferences you speak at, and another thing I'm going to say about you is that you have more of a worldwide following than you even realize, because even through your company, look at all the people that you are helping to get them out there through LightSpeed VT that are worldwide, and then people that are following you that are worldwide. So it's worth getting those 5 messages down. Sure. Because you could change the world from Las Vegas, Nevada.
How are you coming up with those messages? Like, what, when you say 5 hits, I know what you mean, but like, do I just sit down and ponder and think, what do I know?
I would say it's, to go back to Arsenio Hall, he used to do this thing. Things that make you go, huh. That's where I get my messages. It's like, I'll see a guy on Instagram just being as silly as you know what. And I'll go like, really? And out of that, I'll get a message out of, you got to build structure. You got to build a foundation. You don't just talk. You gotta sit, then you gotta stand, then you gotta walk, then you gotta run, then you soar. Because that dude just told me you just soar. Just get it in your mind and you soar. Bull crap. You gotta sit, stand, walk, run, then you soar. So a lot of times my messages come from things that make me go, huh. Same with you. We could do that with you. Things that move you, things that provoke you, things that bother you, things that inspire you. We would go down those 5 different roads. Like, let's have fun. What's one thing that's on the forefront of your mind right now? What's interesting to you? I mean, we've been in a pandemic. People are nervous. People are wanting to get vaccinated. Don't get vaccinated. We're all walking around with masks on. So what's Bradley feeling right now? Give me one thing you're feeling.
Well, it amazes me that people believe that masks work. And I'm not talking about N95 and actual masks. 99% of the masks that are out there is panties over their face. I can't believe people actually think they work.
Yeah. Okay. So I think where I take that, because I don't just hear masks, I hear some of you folks have been gullible your whole life. What have you fallen for that was a half truth? Like, for instance, I used to think that everything my teachers told me was true. Like, they told me that George Washington had wooden teeth. But when I watched the History Channel special on George Washington, he did not have wooden teeth, but they told me he did. So I was willing to just listen and repeat and move on. And I think too many people listen, repeat, and move on. Where a guy like you, that to me, that's a doggone great topic right there. What else have you fallen for?
See how you did
that?
Did
you fall for you're not big enough, you're not equipped enough, you're not good enough? What else have you fallen for?
See how he did that, folks? He just took a conversation, turned it into a very interesting topic, spun it into even a title. That if you had a speech, you could be like, what have you fallen for?
That's one of your speeches, because that's how you talk to us. You were talking, we won't get all into this, but you were talking about some things about marriage one day, and I sent you a personal text. Because listen, it's unorthodox what you said, but it's quite brilliant. Okay? And then another time you talked about Jesus' name. And I thought, how does he know that? Because that is really the truth. Like, there's a lot of things that you know that you keep to yourself, and maybe you just drop them 1 or 2 times. I don't want you to drop them 1 or 2 times. I want it to be one of your top 5, and you take it from place to place to place to place until it becomes a hit record.
I think there's probably some sort of hidden insecurity and or guilt, shame, whatever it is that limits people in that regard. You know why? Because I know deep down, sometimes I'll say things randomly in conversation, and I'll think to myself, man, that right there said just that way would be flawless, and people would freak. And then for some reason, I'll go out and say it completely differently because I didn't put in the work. So there's something making me not put in the work. And I think that is real with most people in the world. What is stopping us from breaking through the next level? And how do you coach people to do so? Because again, you keep bringing people back from the brink of failure and giving up and turn them back into, machines that believe in themselves. What are you saying to them? What are you trying? What are you working on with them to do that?
Right before this great talk we're having, I was just on Access Hollywood, which is a big show, because they want to ask me about what I think about Kanye's divorce, because Kanye's my friend, and they want to ask me about this and that and that and that and the other. I'm going to be doing more segments with them. And so my thinking is this, is that I feel that what people lack is skills, tools, and attitude. And write this down, because this is really powerful. Like, the best way to climb a mountain, if you're a mountain climber, you better have the right tools. Don't be trying to climb that doggone mountain in your Converse tennis shoes. You agree with that?
100%.
So if you're going to go to Mount Rainier in Washington, don't try to go in your Converse. So you got to have the right tools. And then the more I began to study mountain climbing, because I literally put like 8 hours into this message about mountain climbing, is that, then they have the right ropes, and then their backpack has to be so light. So they have they have to have the right tools, and then they have to have the right skills. And the skills come in the mentorship. I believe the deeper we could get into your story, you have been mentored by at least a few people that made some sense. Okay. And so you have to have the skills, the tools, but you can have the skills and the tools, but man, you better have some attitude. And what I want to challenge you on as my friend and the guy younger than me is bring the whole thing. Bring the whole thing. It's not your fault you have stage presence. And so bring the whole thing. Bring it all. Point number one. Point number two. That reminds me the other day when I was sitting in my box seat at the hockey game. Oh, he's bragging. No, he's not. That's his reality. So you got the skills, you got the tools, but I say don't be afraid to have the swag and bring the attitude. Go ahead.
Do you see a little apprehension in that currently?
In you or somebody else?
Me.
Yes, in you I do. Because I think that you've been such a facilitator for all of us. Because your business, which is a phenomenal business, has been to make sure we succeed on your platform with your company and make sure we're okay. And so, but life said, hey, you're not just a player, coach, you're also a player. Because you spend so much time being the player coach, I'm challenging you to step out and be the player, because out of the all-star team, you're one of the most honest players on the whole doggone NBA team. This is good, right?
Yeah, that's good. Dude, like, I don't know if the listeners are going to get anything unless they're paying real close attention, because they're thinking it's about me, when in reality, everything you're saying to me applies to people listening as well.
Oh, they're getting a lot because it's about them. They're doing the same thing.
I know, but you ever see people like listen and they're like, oh my gosh, he said this to Brad and that's totally true, but they failed to say, what does that mean to me? Because everybody's got the same, almost habits of limiting themselves. They're limiting themselves. That's what I find interesting, Tim. How so many people limit themselves on purpose. Listen, I hold a room. I want you to come into one of these days on Clubhouse. It says problem solved. Rapid fire Q&A with Brad Lee and his friends. And who are my friends? I mean, Grant's been in there. Anybody can come in there. If I know you, I'll mod you up and pull you up. The rest of it's just answering questions. It's solving problems. Now, I believe, obviously, that, you know, I'm a good problem solver. I've been solving problems my whole life. I'm very good at it. I can take people's problems and see things they don't see. So they keep popping up and they're presenting their problems. I say, hey man, what's your problem? Because it's just quick. Let's talk about your problem. I don't want to hear the story yet. Let's talk about the problem. And I say to someone, what's your problem? And you know what they say? They say something like, my problem is I want to be famous.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not the problem. How's that a problem? You know, my problem is I need to find customers. Like, that's a task, Tim. That's not a problem.
Good point. Great point.
People can't find their problem, so it's hard to find the answers. We need to figure out what our problem is. People are stating the task as the problem. What's the problem? I need to find customers. That's not the problem, dipshit. That's the task. Yeah. That's what you need to do. What's the problem? Well, and I drill down into them. I'm like, so what's the problem? People get frustrated, but it's the only way I know how to do it. What's the problem? The problem is, and we finally get down to the problem. The problem is I need to pay rent next week, and I don't know how to make the money. That's the problem, but you were asking all this other surfacey crap, which is going to elicit surfacey answers, and you're going to get off this opportunity, because asking questions in a mastermind is an opportunity to solve a problem, and you don't even know the real problem. That's crazy to me.
That's so awesome. So in steps to a comeback, number one, I'm going to give you quick steps. You have to become awake. Number two, you take inventory. So number one, you wake up. And both of us have been there in life where maybe we dated somebody or we were in a job we didn't like. And you just like wake up one day and go, what am I doing? So number one, become awake. Number two, take inventory. You got to look at what's around you. Like, what's my body like? Who are my friends? What are my habits? In other words, what is the problem? Some people don't recognize the problem because you're not taking inventory. You need to stop, look, and listen today and take inventory on your life and find out where the problem is in your life. Now, once you have the problem, what do I do? Now, a problem is a dilemma. Now, dilemmas have been around since the beginning of mankind. So you can work your way through the problem, but it may not happen as fast as you want it to happen. So you become awake. You take inventory, but number three, you got to have the right people in your life that are problem solvers. That's powerful crap right there.
More powerful than people realize.
I have a therapist. I have a therapist to this day, and I'm feeling great. But I need somewhere to check in to make sure some crazy blind spot didn't hit me.
Man, I'll tell you, I wish everyone could afford to call Tim Storey anytime they had a couple of questions or a little few challenges in the road. Are you on Clubhouse, Tim?
No, but I would like to schedule. Well, I'm on there, but I haven't taken advantage of it yet. But let's schedule something where I come in and let's dialogue like this. Because, you know, all our buddies are asking me to come in, but I'd like to come in first with you and let's dialogue like this. We'll blow that. What's the most you can get? 5,000 people?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, man, you're gonna rock that Clubhouse, because here's the beautiful thing about Clubhouse, Tim. People get to hear you authentically. It's not your assistant. It's not your media team. It's you.
Yeah.
It's you. You're not sitting there rehearsed, because it's almost like a live. It's literally almost like a live session. Now you can come across a little bit more prepared, but trust me, people can hear you, and that's when people go, "This person's authentic," and it's easy to get a hold of somebody. It's driving leads like you wouldn't believe. The other day I put how to make real money selling courses online. Why? Well, because there's a shit ton of people out there not making any money. I've helped people make millions a month. But if somebody doesn't understand the power of interactivity, like I just tell them the truth. The interactivity is very simple. It's to collect data and make offers. They're like, well, what do you mean? Well, if you drive people to a video that asks no questions and makes no offers, what are you going to get? Nothing. Okay, so why not drive people to a video that asks questions and makes offers?
Yes.
Like it's not rocket science. And all of a sudden I start getting my DMs start blowing up, Tim. Next thing you know, I'm throwing them to my salespeople because I don't have enough time to talk to them. And they're like, love what you said on Clubhouse. That's exactly right. We did $500,000 in 2 Clubhouse sessions in revenue.
See, I love that. And again, because you're bringing something, remember you're on the NBA All-Star team, but so am I. But you're bringing something to the team that's different than the rest of the guys. But let me say something about this being limited, okay? If you allow yourself to stay limited, you're going to jack it up for the next guy because your son is watching you act limited, and so is your daughter. And then so when you become a grandpa and you're acting all limited, or a grandmother, your grandkids are going to see that too. So limited is not just something you've done to yourself. You've done it to your children's children. If somebody is unlimited and they get a miracle mentality, which is extraordinary thinking, unusual, uncommon, you could damn break the ceiling for generations to come. And that's what I've done in my family.
Well, let me ask you this. Sometimes I say things where people are like, oh, that's freaking genius. And in reality, I'm being as honest as I can be.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty common sense. Like pretty much everyone should have known that. And I can't believe people value what I'm saying. And I can't get past, walking out there like having that bravado and that confidence to say, hey, look at this. And I say things that I think are common sense. So I think it's common sense, which is why, I guess I'm not owning it. So when you say, get out there and like own it, I feel like I'm being a little bit pretentious.
Okay, but the thing that I'm almost glad is that you almost are missing like a gene where you are just saying like, it's all about me. I'm glad you have that almost blind spot. But then it takes friends like a Tim Storey and other friends of yours to say like, hey man, like that was a great speech, but you could have really bolstered those other points and taken it to the next level. Or, like again in sports, like you had a great game, dude, but when you were hot, keep shooting. We want you to shoot. So I feel like that's why iron sharpens iron. You know that term from the Bible.
Yes.
Where iron sharpens iron. And I feel like that's where guys like us, we're willing to do that with each other. There's some other guys out there that are willing to do that with each other. And the guys that are not, they're going to stand alone and they're going to stop right about 2021. And their career will be amazing for 3 to 5 years, but they will not have careers that go 10, 20, 30 years and then go in the Hall of Fame. And so I feel like this thing where you don't quite understand is okay. But I'm saying as a person who understands good speakers, that this is one of the areas where God gave you a gift. And I'm glad that you are open to take it to the next level.
100%. And all this boils down to me, just for people listening, what I'm gathering out of this. Maybe you guys are gathering something else, but it's put in the work. I think I'm just, as Andy Frisella would say, lazy, making excuses. It's putting in the work, Tim. You put in the work. You said already 15 hours to do 30 minutes. You know how much time I spend on my speeches? Zero.
No.
Zero.
Yeah.
Absolutely zero.
Okay. But can I say that again, if I walk into your offices and I feel that excellence, it didn't happen on accident.
Well, that's style. Like, that's taste and style. And, I like to put my best foot forward. I wonder why.
but you put in the work. Like tonight, I'm gonna go, and it sounds like name dropping, but I just talking about my life. But Michael Mina is an amazing chef, has a great restaurant in your city, Las Vegas. He's opening up a new restaurant tonight. I'm going there. That's my buddy, Michael Mina, Brent Bolthouse, they're doing it together. Now, but I just did their leadership meeting of about 70 people last week for the Mina Corporation. You talk about the excellence. What goes in. They gave me a tour of the kitchen last week. Everything was there. They are preparing for when this thing is about to break open tonight, the restaurant. You with me? So for me, part of my preparation comes out of survival. When you're looking for change in the couch so you could get ice cream, damn, that's survival. When you see your mother working 2 shifts at Winchell's Donut Shop because your dad died at 10, that's survival. So Tim Storey, the way I became Tim Storey, one way, is that, man, I had no other choice. I had to put in the work. I had to listen to Miss Cook and Miss Sullivan and Mr. Probert. I knew I had to put in the work. But I never knew that putting in the work would take me to these nice high levels where people would entrust me to do the things I get to do.
And by the way, building trust is very important, folks. I put this point out there the other day. Tim, I want your opinion on it. People will always say that you really want to trust people, but somebody can trust that you're going to screw them over. Somebody can trust that you're going to drop the ball.
Yeah.
You don't want that kind of trust.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And we're living in a world that's so different than our grandparents. Let's go back there. Like where they'd be like, oh, I'll tell you, old Dave Williams. I'll tell you one thing about Dave. He's trustworthy. You know why? Because they took walks together. They hung out, right? They probably were on the porch, like swinging. We live in such a quick society. We don't take the time to dialogue, to just dialogue. It's through that conversation and the sharing of the soul, man, we find out how trustworthy somebody is.
Hey, I want to pick your brain. I know I said just give me an hour, and so you're being very generous with your time, but I want to know the miracle mentality. I want to know, like, because this book you're about to drop, or it's already dropping. By the time this episode drops, I think you guys can go get it on Amazon or wherever. Where can they get that book?
Can I pick it up and show it?
Yes, do it. This is also on YouTube. So if they're on audio, folks, it's The Miracle Mentality. Okay.
Can I tell you why I'm so excited about this?
Hey, show it again, because the screen was on me. Show it one more time while you're talking.
So one reason I'm so excited about this, Brad, is that HarperCollins signed me, and we're in the middle of a pandemic. But what an amazing book to come out in the midst of mess. Because I say in the midst of the mundane, the mess, and the madness, that we have to find a way to still look for the miracle moments in life. I really feel like so many people are so cluttered and crowded and overworked and full of fear that they need to regain their innocence. And I've done a lot of research on this and had a lot of researchers help me. And we found that the miracle mentality is not something just to be attained or learned. It's something to be remembered and released. How powerful is that? When you were a kid, you were thinking magical thoughts. Okay, so if I was to come and speak to your school and you were little Bradley, did they call you Bradley back then?
No, Brad.
Okay. All right. So if you were little Bradley and I came to your school when you were a little kid and I said, Brad, what would you like to be when you get older? It would have been at least something semi-grand. You would have never said broke or bankrupt or, a mess. Most little kids, when I speak to their schools, they say things like this: a hockey player, a basketball player, the president, because in their innocence, they think they can. So the Miracle Mentality is a book that teaches you step by step how to align yourself with the mentality that is truly you. It is doing really, really, really well. Watch Target. It's all in Target. It's in Walmart. Watch how cool this is. I'm in 90 airports around the world. This book is being advertised in 90 airports around the world where people are taking pictures nonstop. They're going, what is that? How'd you pull this off? Because my buddy is a guy who owns that company that, those big old screens we see everywhere because we travel. So whether it's the big screens or the ones in the restaurants, you see Tim Storey talking, and then they're advertising my book. Then I write for American Airlines every month. If you travel American, you'll see my articles in the magazine. I write for United Airlines magazine every month. They're pushing it. So it's become a movement because I think people know we need to have a miracle mentality.
Dude, I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to getting the book. I'm going to go out and get it. I suggest everybody does too. And I hope, Tim, next time you come to Vegas, you stop by and we do this in person.
Let's do it in person, and then let's converse. And then I want to take you up on a Clubhouse idea and just tell me what that is. And then I'm going to challenge you as your friend that's been at this longer to let's develop at least one message together. It's almost like, Spielberg and Coppola getting together and working on a movie. I want you to throw me some of your ideas, and then I want to tweak them and create a speech together for you. And then you go out there and try it and see how that goes for you.
What's the topic?
I think it's going to be the topic of whatever you're feeling. It could be a topic now, it could be a topic next week, because, news and life is moving that fast. So whatever Brad's got in his spirit, that's the thing that's going to work.
Yeah,
you've got things inside you.
Well, a lot of people try to pigeonhole me into this sales trainer because I do know sales and closing and whatnot. But I always say, man, I'm not a sales trainer. Like I want to be bigger than that. I think I'm a problem solver, and I think I can get people to understand there isn't a lot of complication to it. I think you have to strip away the complication and just keep it simple. And I think it's going to be a lot easier to make things happen in life. Whether it's
I would go with that. I think that's where we should start. Where if somebody brings you to a big convention, so if they need you to be the sales guy, we do get into, let's say if it's a 35-minute speech, we'll get into 15 minutes of the sales person, but the other 20 is going to be the three things that are standing in your way. Number one, you're the problem. Number two, you got a problem. Number three, there's a solution to the problem. I mean, I just gave 3 points that I could dig that out for you so much, you wouldn't know what hit you. I mean, because anywhere from any top entrepreneur, when you read the books, even about Richard Branson, he admitted he was a doggone problem in his corporation for so long. Ray Dalio talks about he was a problem in his corporation. So, yeah, let's talk about problems and problem solving. I think a lot of people will learn from that.
I've got one right now. I'm gonna text it to you. Real, and that's what it is. You want to keep, chasing these dreams, or you want to make them real? Yeah.
I love that.
How do we make?
I love that, but I think that's gonna be one of your hits. It'll be one of your hits that, like, man, we need to bring in Brad Lee. He's got that one message on real, and because that's how you are. Let me just say this: you walked into a party that I was at in like the Beverly Hills area one time. And I just love how you walked in. You just came in, you just talked to a few people, enjoyed yourself. You weren't like trying to schmooze with everybody and like looking for angles. You were just being you, man. And that's part of the beauty of what is going on in your life is this word that is many times taken out of context, authenticity, but you are authentic. It's that saying that you have been born an original and you will not die a copy. And I just want to tell you, it is working for you.
Tim, you always make me feel better every time I talk to you, whether it's 5 minutes or freaking an hour. I appreciate all the words. I know everybody here is already trying to find the book. That's The Miracle Mentality. If you guys aren't following Tim Storey, you're nuts. It's at Tim Storey Official on Instagram, or just Google him. You can't miss him. The dude's, literally connected to every big person in the world, and everybody respects him for the same reason. And he's a good faith-based individual. So, man, Tim, I appreciate you spending an hour with us. If there's anything I can do for you, obviously let me know, and I will take you up on finding a couple of hit songs with you.
I love it. What a great conversation. This was real stuff right here. This was powerful for people.
See, like you just said, real. See, that's what I think in this day and age, Tim, people want real. They want to be real. And the fact that a lot of people, when I ask, what do you see when you talk to me? People are like, oh, dude, you're real. You're real. You're real. Coincidentally, the real Brad Lee. So I just think the whole thing, I think that hit needs to be based out of being real. And, you can use acronyms like reevaluate every area of your life. Because in my opinion, in order to do that, you have to get real with your ass. Like you said, take inventory. That's my way of saying take inventory. Get real, man. Let's assess. Let's measure where we are and where we want to be. That's another thing. Most people, they don't even know where they want to go. Tim, what if I told you to go into a room of 5,000 people and you had no idea who you're looking for? What's the likelihood you're going to find that person?
Not very good.
So if you go ask people, what does success look like to you? You know what they do? They look up, and they'll even say, every time, because they've never thought about it. And you're after it. You're trying to find it. You don't even know what it looks like. Is that common sense? Is that intelligent, or is that a little bit foolish? And by the way, see, when I get animated, if I could record this and then map it out to where I could repeat it, well, now maybe I'm a showman, because that's what you are, Tim. You're an excellent showman. You're like Fred Astaire when he was dancing in the speaking world. You're the Fred Astaire on the stage.
The reason your passion comes out when you're saying that, like what I say, if I put all those hours in the study and it comes out of my pores, is because this is your passion. This is your conviction about this thing because if you're not real, it's going to limit you and stop you. And it could stop your son, your daughter, and their children's children. So let's get real with Brad Lee. Watch where we take this. This is no joke. We're writing hit songs.
It's
right
time
now.
Hey, it's time to get real.
See, that's it.
You want to keep chasing those dreams, or do you want to make them real?
That's it.
Man, dude, see, like collaboration is freaking way better than competition. I can tell you that right now. Tim Storey, you are a gentleman and a scholar. No wonder everybody loves you, folks. Make sure you follow him on social media. Make sure that the second you hear this, do me a favor, if nothing else. If you're not doing yourself a favor, do me one. Go order the book, The Miracle Mentality, right now. Share this episode out. Somebody needs to hear it. And until next time, folks, keep it real.
Dropping bombs with the real Brad Lee. Subscribe now.